Hi family, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back and thank you for watching my previous videos and all the love that you've given me with my previous videos. This is officially the final part of our Namibia vlog. This is part 3 and we are coming from Sossusvlei and going to Walvis Bay and Swakopmund. These were the views that we drive through, which was a beautiful landscape. Unfortunately, I'll be doing a voiceover throughout this video. We did not manage to get really good sound for this video, and I once again apologize for that. This was our 4-hour drive. This drive was very long because it was not the nicest drive, as it was very plain. Like, there were no houses and there was nothing. And finally, after our 4-hour drive, we're in Walvis Bay. It was so beautiful to see the ocean, just to see the dunes, seeing the desert so close to the ocean. It was nice. We truly enjoyed Swakopmund. We loved Swakopmund and Walvis Bay. We really loved the side of Namibia, and we booked our accommodation in Swakopmund. This was our room tour in Swakopmund. I'll put the name of this hotel. Generally, as we traveled to Namibia, we booked all our accommodations the day before or on the night. The only accommodation that we booked in advance was for our first few stays in Windhoek, because actually when you're at the airport, they will ask you, where are you staying? Like, they're going to ask you details of your accommodation. That's the only one that we pre-booked in advance. When it comes to the other accommodations, we found them as we go, and I think that makes the trip quite exciting and adventurous, because you go to some places to book and it's fully booked, and we would check on booking.com how are the places and which places to go to. And obviously it's a new country, we don't really know how the country is. We take wherever we see from booking.com. The Tug restaurant in Swakopmund was also one of our favorite restaurants. We probably went there literally every time, because I wanted to have a lot of seafood, because we were finally by the ocean, and that's where we ate most of our meals. And my husband wanted to go for fishing. Then we went to go buy fishing rods. This store is actually also in Swakopmund. So we're still in Swakopmund, and we went for fishing at the beach, at the ocean. It was my husband's first time fishing at the ocean, which was so exciting. He was so excited to be fishing at the ocean. And I was just there watching, like reading my book, just relaxed. The weather in Swakopmund on this day, it was not as sunny. It was very dim, but it was not cold. And luckily there was no wind, which I really liked. So first day, our activities was just fishing and me reading my book, which was nothing much. Basically fishing, going to eat, and that was it. But to those who are not like into fishing, on this day we could have actually had a proper beach day. We were swimming, but the weather, it wasn't like a really nice day. And our second option was to visit the museum, because where we stayed, we're so close to the museums. But they were closing early because it was a public holiday. This was the 26th. It was a family day. And a family day in Namibia is taken so seriously. Like, I know in South Africa, Christmas, it's day off. For them, it's the other way, because we actually met someone on the day we arrived who took us to like an close by township area by Swakopmund, and they were telling us on how they were preparing for family day for the 26th. And it was so interesting for me, because in South Africa, usually Christmas is the big day, but for them, that lady spoke so bigly of the 26th, which was family day. Guys, we wanted to go to this other restaurant that is at the ocean, and we're so scared of this water. I did not trust this bridge. As such, we did not go to eat at that restaurant. We came back to the Tug restaurant and we ate here. That was the restaurant we wanted to go to, but I was so scared of the water. I did not trust that bridge. The water was just too high. But nevertheless, we settled for the Tug restaurant once again. So by the time we're actually at this side of the country, Walvis Bay and Swakopmund, my phone was really full. I struggled to capture most of the moments, so my vlog will be all over the place. I'm basically trying to make sure that you guys see how Swakopmund looks like, and it's such a beautiful town. If you're coming to Namibia, I say move from Windhoek and you come straight to Swakopmund and move between Swakopmund and Walvis Bay. Maybe if you want to go see Sossusvlei, you can definitely go see Sossusvlei, but Swakopmund was our favorite town. Like, it's so beautiful. We loved it. It's so touristy. It's so Cape Townish. We loved it. We also tried out this Chinese restaurant, which had an interesting food. I did not like the soup, but yeah, the food was okay, honestly. This was the reception of our hotel. We actually stayed 2 nights at this hotel, and the best thing that they did for us is that we could also do our laundry. So I sent them our laundry and they did it, and it was so perfect. I loved that about it. Shout out to hotels that offer laundry services. This is the promenade of Swakopmund. So beautiful. So I loved it. It was really nice. I took a walk around here and I had a really great time. So there are so many restaurants that are around here. If we're not lazy, we could have tried all the different restaurants. But when you find something that works, you don't change it. And this was a big day for us. I was so excited that we were finally doing quad biking. It was one of our list of things to do. So in Namibia, there's one place where you can do quad biking or you can do the camel riding. So we opted to do the quad biking. It was my first time doing quad biking, and what an experience. I loved it so much. It was so beautiful doing quad biking at the dunes, like at a desert. What an experience. If you're coming to Namibia, this is something that you definitely have to do. And if maybe you don't like quad biking, you can do the camel riding because they both at the same location. We had a lady who was driving with us. She was struggling to quad bike, but we had a good time being with them. The following day, we actually went to Walvis Bay. We booked at Oyster Box Guest House. Interestingly, we didn't really like Walvis Bay. We felt like it was too quiet compared to Swakopmund. We loved Swakopmund more than anything. So just know where you're booking. Know the vibe that you're looking for. Walvis Bay is more like houses, very homely, and Swakopmund is very much like touristy. Like I feel like there are more things to do in Swakopmund compared to Walvis Bay. This was our room tour at the Oyster Box Guest House. We only stayed 1 night here. Not the best experience. I mean, we did not even like the town, the Walvis Bay town, but it was nice to see Walvis Bay. They had a beautiful waterfront at Walvis Bay, which we really liked. I forgot the name of the restaurant that we're at, but we're at the Walvis Bay waterfront. It was so beautiful to see, and if you want, you could have a yacht ride and all of that. We did not do those activities, but I think they do have those options. Because we didn't really like Walvis Bay, second night we're back in Swakopmund. We're now actually on our way for beach camping, but we passed through Swakopmund because we loved Swakopmund so much. Swakopmund looks so much like Germany, even though I've never been to Germany, but because that was one of their colonizers is Germany. And we did our grocery shopping at Woolies there because we were off to having a beach camping experience. We then did shopping just before going for our beach camp. And this is me getting ice cream because wherever you're at, you must get a gelato. Swakopmund has a lot of like South African restaurants, but also a lot of German restaurants. Yeah. So Namibia was actually a German colony. And then after First World War, South Africa took over until Namibia was independent in 1990. As such, the rand is 1 rand is to 1 Namibian dollar, and you can use your rand notes in Namibia, but you can't use your Namibian dollar in South Africa. We were now on our way for our beach camp, and on the way, we decided to have lunch in the middle of nowhere, which was such an experience because why not? That's the nice thing about just being adventurous and just traveling. you get to do things that they don't really make sense, but why not? So we stopped here to make lunch. The one thing I liked about this is that at this time, we're actually also so tired of restaurants. We were at that point where we were preferring to make our own food. Hence, we did not want to eat lunch in Swakopmund. We drove like an hour to 30 minutes, and then we had lunch in the middle of nowhere, and this was our lunch. Where we stopped, there was actually a dead ocean close by, but we did not go to see it because our touristy mindset were a bit low. We just wanted to get to a nice campsite, of which we did not get. So on the way on this road, so this is the north, coming from Swakopmund, we're going towards the north of Namibia. We're going basically further up Namibia. This was the campsite we're coming to, which we did not like. It was too packed. The campsite was actually close to the lodge, and we did not like it. We had to find something. We had to do our trial and error of trying to find a campsite or trying to find the right accommodation, and yeah. After realizing that the campsite that we booked the night before, we did not like it. I did not like it, and my husband was just not happy about it because it was too packed. We did not take videos of it because there were just so many campers who were there. We went by the beach to do another fishing, and unfortunately, we got stuck at the beach. The other thing that happens in Namibia is that you can drive so close to by the ocean or by the beach, which is interesting because apparently in South Africa, that is not allowed. You're not allowed to drive at a certain proximity by the ocean. I'm not sure why you're not allowed, but in Namibia, you are allowed. So we drove so close such that we got stuck. My husband loved this experience because he felt like he was a camper and all of that. Because if you follow people who overland a lot, they always have these experiences, I would say, where they get stuck, and then being stuck, you then get to use your tools that the car has. So it was an exciting time for him because he knew that he was going to get the car out. It was not a good time for me because I was panicking a bit. I was just like, what if you can't get out the car? And interestingly, it was actually quite tough to get the car out. We met these random guys who just came to help because we were struggling as much as we had the shovel, but it needed more people who were going to be able to pull the sand out. And the car was just not coming out until those guys arrived. Those guys, they really helped us. People in Namibia, they're so nice. That's one thing we noticed. But the biggest problem we had, we could not communicate with those guys. But luckily, so they did not understand English. And they actually spoke their native language. So their native language, it sounded like Xhosa that is mixed with Afrikaans. We couldn't understand what they were saying, and they also couldn't understand us. So we had a huge language barrier. But luckily, they were with their boss, and their boss was an Afrikaans speaker who could understand a bit of he could understand a bit of English. So we're able to communicate with him. Then he would tell them what to do because we also don't know Afrikaans. And because Namibia was a colony of Germany and then South Africa took over, people there speak a lot of Afrikaans and they look like Khoi as well. So they speak Afrikaans with a Khoi language. That was another interesting find. These were the guys who helped us so much, and they also pulled the car using their own car. I did not capture that, unfortunately, but this was the experience, and we officially got out of the mud. After that experience, we went to the beach to just fish and stay until we had figured where we're gonna camp, and finally we find another campsite. We just went here without actually booking. We just came and they had space. It was such a big campsite. This campsite is owned by the government. I forgot the name of it. So we had campsites that are actually owned by the government, which was nice to see because in South Africa, what we've noticed is that campsites that are owned by government, they're not well taken care of. And in Namibia, it was a different experience. Campsites that are owned by government, they are also in good condition. Like, they are taken care of. There are people who clean, who look after them. There is like a system, but just that this campsite was not reachable. we could not call them, we could not do anything. Like the only way you can book it is actually if you just come to it, which we're lucky that when we came, we actually found the campsite with space. It was such a big campsite. I don't think it ever gets full. I tried to show you guys how our rooftop actually looks like, because I realized that I did not do a car tour of how the car actually looks like. So this is where we actually sleep. And remember that this is our second car, but both cars actually looked very similar. This is my favorite time of camping, like just sitting around the fire. And this one was even more nice because we're so close to the ocean. You could hear the sound of the sound of the waves and all of that. It was beautiful. This was our dinner for the night. As I have said, I will be doing a voiceover throughout this video, and I've been talking and I might have been speaking very quickly. I do apologize for that, but the important thing is me getting this video out and not overthinking it. This was our dinner. We had spaghetti with meat, with beef. And then we were driving back to Windhoek. But on our drive back to Windhoek, we actually camped at few campsites. But now those campsites, they were closer to Windhoek. I don't know if you're looking at the map of Namibia, you can imagine the route that we took to travel around Namibia. So now we're driving back. We drove through from Swakopmund, from the north of Namibia. We drove through Swakopmund, Walvis Bay, and to this side of Windhoek, but still before Windhoek. And we just had lunch in the middle of nowhere because why not? Also, as I had said, we were tired of eating at restaurants. We just enjoyed making our own food, and they had the best meat at Woolworths. Like the meat in Namibia was so good. We loved it. This was our second last campsite, which was actually so interesting. This campsite was owned by scientists. They had these many theories around the earth, the sun, and all of that. They have a big telescope that you can go and look. They have so many boot camps that they run that are looking into the earth and the different moons and the different planets. You know, like when you travel, you meet so many different people. The owners of this campsite were so interesting to us, and they were telling us about it. And they are Germans, so they are Germans who stay in Namibia. And yeah, and this was officially our last campsite in Namibia. This campsite was at a beautiful farm that is 30 minutes from Namibia when you're coming from the Walvis Bay side. And it was so big and so beautiful. So because Namibia is so hot, this campsite actually has a dam. And this dam is so dry, guys. It was so sad to see. Even the owner was just telling us on how they haven't been having rain. And because my husband was interested in fishing, so he could not fish because the dam was basically empty. Like that's the dam. What you see there is actually the dam, and it was so empty. But the campsite was so big and it was so beautiful. What a beautiful campsite. It was very well thought of, and they had one of the best showers I've ever seen. I just did not capture that. I'm so sorry for not capturing those moments. These are things that I really liked about this campsite. Even though the dam is actually dry at this campsite, they have a lot of animals. Like they have a lot of animals that they have farmed, and those animals are still surviving. We were wondering like how beautiful nature is, the fact that the animals can still survive even though they don't have water. We're not sure where they drink, but the owner told us that they just roam around. So they have these really big cows, like those big cows that are around the farm, and they have sheep and goats and all of that, and they are surviving in the drought because Namibia is a desert country, like, so they have adapted. So yeah, that was an interesting find. This is the campsite. The campsite was so big and beautiful, and we were the only people who camped there. Even the owner, he was so shocked to see us because like he was not answering, no one was answering our calls and all of that when we called trying to book. So we just showed up, and he welcomed us so warmly, and he was even offering us that we camp for free. But it was a nice day. And after that, we finally went to Windhoek and we stayed at Avani. hotel for 2 nights, and that was the end of our trip. Thank you so much.